Hi, I'm Fred Lover. I'm here with CyberTex, one of the instructors here, and as a former hiring manager, I want to give you some of the tips and some of the things I thought some candidates did some really great things when they were interviewing with me. Number one, smile. Smile says it all. Please smile. When you're in an interview, smile, and a firm handshake if it's a physical interview. There are Skype interviews, or interviews you have to do online. Make sure you're smiling there too. And also make sure you're dressed appropriately for a Skype interview, because sometimes they may have you stand. Make sure that you're in the full suit if you're in a dress suit. Now let's talk about what we say on our interviews. Most of them are going to ask you questions, and one of the questions they may ask you is, have you ever failed? So be prepared with, I failed on this, but this is what I had learned. So always have that ready. So talk about how you failed and what you learned from it. Also, they may ask you the pet peeve question. Make sure you have one that is positive. So say something like, you know what, one of my pet peeves is X, but what I do to remedy that is X. Let me give you an example of what I mean by a pet peeve. One of the greatest pet peeves we have is trouble tickets. People don't want to do them. But if you explain to people, if you do the trouble ticket, what eventually happens if a lot of people have the same problem, what we can do is then create a frequently asked questions. So the next time it comes up, everyone gets the benefit of understanding how to fix a certain problem, or we will know that it is a problem and we can fix it so no one else ever has it again. The other thing you want to be aware of is your network knowledge. Never say you know something and you don't. If you can't remember at the time, even though you've covered it in class, what we want to do is say, hey, I don't recall that one, but we did discuss that in class. Because, be careful, they may ask you to diagram this out. They may ask you to draw it out, or they may ask you to explain it in detail. So if you do say you're familiar with something on an interview, and you really know it, that's fine. Just be prepared that they may ask you to go into further explanation. One other thing you should be aware of is when you're in the interview, remember you've done a lot of training here at CyberTex. So don't be afraid to let them know some of the things you may be able to do. Most of us have troubleshooted and installed the server several times. So if you're in an interview with server information, let them know. I've troubleshooted servers at the school several times and was successful in doing that. What's really good about that, you're now telling that hiring manager, hey, I know how to troubleshoot, even though I may not have the certification. One other thing you should say is, because you've been to the school, I feel comfortable of getting that certification within 6 months from starting here. These sort of things put you at the head of the pack in terms of when you're interviewing, and hopefully you'll get that job. Thank you for discussing the tips that we have when you're doing your interview. Just so you know, if you're with CyberTex and you're a student at CyberTex, or even not a student at CyberTex, come and join us, especially the period where we actually go over career readiness. There we do a lot of role playing, back and back, just to make sure people feel comfortable in the interviewing process. And it's a great experience, and it's a way to really test out your interviewing skills and really feel comfortable when you're face to face with a true hiring manager. Thank you so much, and hope to see you in CyberTex soon.